Welcome back, everybody, to the Ball Does Live podcast, your one-stop shop for NBA hoops content. I'm your host, Brendan, joined by my co-host, Amir. Amir, again, we've been focusing a lot on the East lately because it's just so up and down. It seems to be pretty wide open, and a couple teams just have not really been in the mix that I think we thought would be there. One of those right now, for me at least, being the Atlanta Hawks. I was pretty high on them to start the season. And a couple of things have gone the way I thought things would go. Jalen Johnson taking a huge leap. Porzingis, when he's able to play, fits in pretty well.
Which is
But
never.
which is never. So I that needs to be stated. But the Hawks, with Trae Young finally back from injury, have yet to win a game. 0-6. I just want to get your take on what's going on in Atlanta and do you think there's any way they could turn this around and any potential moves they could make to get their season back on track?
Yeah, they could turn it around by trading Trae Young because he's a freaking cone and he's horrible. Even though he's amazing offensively and he's one of the best playmaking guards, gets you a ton of assists. It just doesn't translate to winning. So the offense doesn't flow since he's been back. They're 0-6 and feels like they just take turns. Defense issues resurface immediately again with Trae coming back into the lineup, and they seem to collapse, and that's not a coincidence. And I mean, Atlanta's signaling real change. The organization apparently is open to looking for a trade for Trae Young and like to listening. And basically, the whole first issue was in the offseason, they didn't give him his extension, right? They didn't give Trae his extension. That basically is the writing on the wall for me, I would say. Or there's a 50-50 shot, at least at minimum, that's the writing on the wall, right? There could be a hometown negotiation or whatever. They can refigure that out, come like play better, stay healthy. We could renegotiate later, but it just doesn't feel like that's the case. And there was a report by Tim McMahon who said that they're looking for an exit ramp right now at this point. And again, they didn't extend him long term, and so they were saying that's a major signal. Basically, like if and he was your franchise cornerstone for all these years, right? Like, and you're not giving him the extension. It's not like he's like the second or third player, or option on this team. So, um, yeah, I think the writing is on the wall, and it's not just Trae. There's a new report that said uh, Zaccharie Risacher, Wemby's French buddy who got drafted number one a few seasons ago. He hasn't developed as they've hoped or as they predicted, and he's been floated around as a potential candidate now as well. Like they don't only want to get rid of Trae Young, perhaps, which they would get some good draft capital and some pieces hopefully back for him, but they're also looking to trade Risacher also and just maybe fully let's redevelop and rebuild now around Jalen Johnson, around that leap. He's so young right now and he's just taking that leap that like let's get as much draft capital and let's get a lottery pick, kind of like how the Thunder did, right? Like they can get their Jalen Williams or their Chet Holmgren maybe perhaps through the draft. So like I don't think they should continue to try to win and be a middling play-in team this season. They're 10th in the East. They're 15-18. Were better before Trae got back. Even when Trae was gone, in those 20 games or whatever, 15 games he missed, Jalen Johnson put this team on his back, and they were the 7th seed at one point and were above 500 a few games. And I think they just do a full reset and try to accumulate as much assets on this team and, take those few steps back, like the Thunder, like the Spurs, like the Sixers technically in the past, right? You take a few steps back, you lose for a few years, and then you draft lottery picks and you hope a few of them hit, and then you become a contender. So I think
Yeah.
that's what is going to happen with the Hawks. I don't think they should continue to try to win and be a middle play-in team with my team back there. And the Bulls, those three teams have been perpetual play-in teams, so why continue being in the middle, which is the worst place you can be in the NBA, is the actual middle. So
Worst place in sports to be in the middle. But, to your earlier point about Trae and his lack of defensive intensity, the Hawks, second to last in defensive rating since Trae's been back. And you can just tell every team they played so far has picked on Trae every possession. And you can just see the entire defense having to completely tilt to Trae's side, which then creates so many different scramble opportunities for the opposing offense, creates so much more space. And I can't imagine the Hawks players have really enjoyed Trae being back. And I think it is, like you were saying, I think it's time to just build around Jalen Johnson. You know what you have in him. He's a certified superstar. I think just a walking triple-double, someone who's highly efficient and can really run your offense, I think, a lot better than Trae at some points. Not all the time. I think Trae's an incredible offensive engine in his own right. But I think Jalen, just with his youth and then his versatility defensively, I think it seems to be a no-brainer. I am a bit shocked they're so open to getting rid of Risacher so early. You know, that's a guy you spent a really high lottery pick on. I would anticipate you'd give him at least a couple more years. But if it means getting back some more draft capital, especially with this draft coming up that I think most experts expect to be pretty damn good, now's the time to maybe blow it up, especially because you're just going nowhere right now in the East. So a lot for the Hawks to think about. And kind of going back on their playoff history with Trae, since they had that pretty magical, maybe fluky run to the conference finals where they completely broke Ben Simmons and the Sixers, lost in the first round to the Heat, lost in the first round to the Celtics, didn't make the playoffs either the following 2 years. So crazy. I think you hit your ceiling with Trae. I think you knew what you got with him. I agree with you. I think it's time to see what you can get for him, get some draft capital back, and just start building around Jalen, because that is, I think, the future of this team and this organization. Any closing thoughts here, Amir, before we end the segment? Any potential trade packages you would like to see the Hawks maybe execute on, or maybe just some fun players you could see paired with Jalen Johnson?
I don't want to waste my breath and time on these Hawks anymore, so the only thing I'll say is should have kept Luka.
Should have kept Luka. I think we can definitely stamp that as a big L for the Hawks, taking Trae over Luka. That's a tough one. But, honestly, they should have never even had that decision if my stupid Kings would have made the right decision. But here we are.
Oh, my God. Marvin Bagwell, or what's his name?
Marvin Bagley, baby.
Whatever. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, tough for the Kings. All right, well, thank you, Amir. Appreciate your time. Appreciate you jumping on here. And thank you all for watching. This is the Ball Does Lie podcast. We are a new and growing podcast, so please, any updates, any feedback, it's much appreciated. So thank you all for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if you do like the content. We'll see you on the next one.